Today we're diving into a countdown of films that didn't just wow audiences, they changed the way movies are made, watched, and even thought about. These are the films that rewrote the rules of cinema, pushed boundaries, and left a legacy that echoes through every film you watch today. From groundbreaking effects to storytelling reinventions, these are the top 10 movies that changed cinema forever. Imagine, it's the late 1800s. People are just getting used to the idea of motion pictures, short, simple clips, often of everyday scenes. Then suddenly, in 1902, a film arrives that transported audiences not just across frames, but across worlds. A Trip to the Moon, directed by Georges Méliès. This film wasn't just a novelty, it was a revelation. Méliès used imaginative sets, fantastical costumes, and pioneering special effects to take viewers on a journey straight to the moon. For the first time, cinema became more than just a window on reality. It became a portal into imagination. Méliès proved that movies could tell stories that defy the limits of the physical world, and in doing so, laid the foundation for every science fiction and fantasy film that followed. Fast forward to 1927, and cinema is on the brink of a revolution. Audiences have grown accustomed to silent films, expressive actors, and title cards that fill in the dialogue. Then Warner Brothers releases The Jazz Singer. This was the first feature-length film with synchronized dialogue sequences. Suddenly, audiences heard actors speak, laugh, sing, and emote in ways they never had before. "You ain't heard nothing yet" wasn't just a line in the film, it was a promise. The era of silent cinema ended almost overnight, and the age of sound began. This shift forever changed how stories were told, how actors performed, and how audiences connected with characters. Soundtracks, dialogue, and musical scores became essential tools in a filmmaker's arsenal. Just a few years later, in 1939, Hollywood gave us what many consider the greatest film of all time, Gone with the Wind. But its impact wasn't just artistic, it was cultural and technological. This sweeping epic used vibrant Technicolor at a time when most films were still in black and white, immersing audiences in a spectacle of color that felt richer and more alive than anything they'd seen. Epic storytelling, massive sets, and an unforgettable score showed the world that film could be both intimate and grand. It raised the bar for what Hollywood productions could aspire to, proving that movies could be blockbusters long before the term even existed. While Gone with the Wind expanded the emotional and visual scale of cinema, another film in 1941 redefined how stories could be told on screen. Citizen Kane, directed by and starring Orson Welles, broke every rule in the filmmaker's handbook. Its innovative use of deep-focus cinematography, non-linear storytelling, and dramatic lighting reshaped the visual language of film. The narrative doesn't unfold in a straight line. Instead, it pieces itself together through flashbacks and perspectives, inviting audiences to question what they're seeing. The way Welles used the camera to control what we know, when we know it, influenced directors for generations. Even today, techniques we take for granted, complex camera movements, layered storytelling, trace back to this masterpiece. Let's leap ahead to 1954, to a quiet post-war Japan. Akira Kurosawa released Seven Samurai, a film that transformed action cinema worldwide. Running over 3 hours, it told an epic tale of honor, sacrifice, and survival. But its influence goes far beyond its story. Kurosawa's dynamic editing, staging of action sequences, and ensemble cast structure became blueprints for countless films to follow. Westerns, war films, and even modern blockbusters borrow from its playbook. When Hollywood reimagined this story decades later as The Magnificent Seven, it wasn't just a remake, it was confirmation of Seven Samurai's global legacy. Then in 1972, cinema witnessed a seismic shift in tone and style with The Godfather. Francis Ford Coppola's crime saga wasn't the first gangster film, but it was the first to treat its characters with unprecedented depth and complexity. Mafia figures weren't just villains. They were human beings with motives, flaws, and families. The film's meticulous pacing, atmospheric lighting, and unforgettable performances made it a cultural phenomenon. Suddenly, audiences were hungry for stories that weren't black and white, but morally rich and ambiguous. The era of the blockbuster was being defined, and The Godfather showed that serious artistic storytelling could thrive alongside commercial success. 2 years later, in 1975, another blockbuster reshaped cinema, Jaws. Steven Spielberg's thriller about a man-eating great white shark did more than scare beachgoers. It created the blueprint for the modern summer blockbuster. With its heart-pounding score, relentless suspense, and smart marketing campaign, Jaws became the first film to truly dominate the box office through wide release and massive advertising. Audiences lined up in droves, and studios took notice. Suddenly, Hollywood understood the power of event films. Movies so big, they became cultural moments. Every huge release we see in May and June today owes something to Jaws. While Jaws taught Hollywood how to sell movies, another 1977 release taught Hollywood how to dream bigger than ever before. Star Wars, created by George Lucas, transported audiences to a galaxy far, far away, and in doing so, revolutionized special effects, sound design, and world building in cinema. Lucas didn't just make a movie, he built an entire universe with its own rules, creatures, and cultures. The film's pioneering use of visual effects and models led to the creation of Industrial Light and Magic, a company that would go on to redefine visual effects for decades. Star Wars made science fiction mainstream and proved that audiences would embrace stories that were epic, imaginative, and technologically groundbreaking. Jump ahead to 1993, where a quiet little film called Jurassic Park became a giant leap forward for digital effects. Steven Spielberg was at the helm again, but this time, he combined animatronics with cutting-edge CGI to bring dinosaurs to life in ways no one had ever seen. The result was breathtaking realism that made audiences believe these prehistoric giants stalked the screen. The film showed Hollywood that CGI wasn't just a gimmick, it was the future of visual storytelling. From fantastical creatures to impossible worlds, digital effects opened doors no one knew existed. As the 20th century closed, another film rewired how we think about narrative and genre. In 1999, The Matrix arrived like a bolt of lightning. With its slick visuals, groundbreaking bullet time effects, and philosophical depth, it wasn't just a sci-fi action film, it was a cultural phenomenon. Suddenly, action sequences became smarter, more stylized. Filmmakers across genres began experimenting with visual effects in service of storytelling, not just spectacle. And beneath the high-octane visuals was a story about reality, identity, and choice, ideas that resonated deeply with audiences at the dawn of the digital age. Now, imagine all these films as pieces of a puzzle. Each one didn't just succeed on its own, they influenced the films that came after them. Without Méliès's imagination, maybe we never explore galaxies in film. Without the jazz singer, maybe we never hear actors speak. Without Star Wars, maybe we don't dream as big. These films didn't just change cinema, they expanded it. They challenged what was possible, inviting creators and audiences alike to see the medium not just as entertainment, but as art, expression, and experience. Some changed technology, some changed storytelling, some changed culture itself, but all of them share a common legacy. They widened the horizon of cinema's potential. They dared to think differently, to take risks, to push the art form forward. And today, as filmmakers continue to innovate with virtual reality, immersive soundscapes, and AI-assisted production, these movies remind us that cinema's evolution is never finished. Every generation will have its own films that change the game, inspire new voices, and transform the way we see the world. So next time you watch a movie that thrills you, moves you, or makes you think, remember, it's standing on the shoulders of giants. Thank you for joining me on this journey through cinematic history. If you love movies as much as I do, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Which films do you think changed cinema forever?